record, so you could share this. We'll send you a link to this recording, so in case you'd like to share it with any of your friends or colleagues. So first off, welcome, CarePatrol team. How about what we can do is, I think Paula, I believe, is going to give us an overview of what is CarePatrol.
Great, thanks, Steve. Hi, I'm Paula Sotier. I'm the owner of CarePatrol Baltimore. I cover most of Baltimore County, all of Baltimore City, and Harford County. CarePatrol helps seniors find safe living options at no cost to them. We typically help people find assisted living and memory care. We're local and hands-on. Our process is that we identify the client's medical condition today and the future. We get to know what they like to do and where they want to live and their financial capabilities. And then what we do, a client called me a matchmaker last year, where we match the client's needs with the communities. It's really important that we do that because we want to find the safe option for the client. We're able to do that because CarePatrol understands the clinical capabilities of communities. We know their staffing levels. We know how clean they are. We also look at the state surveys to figure out if there are any quality issues. But most importantly, this whole team you see, we're in and out of the communities all the time. We're placing people on a daily basis. So we get real-time information on exactly the care capabilities of each of our communities, especially during the pandemic. You know, even with the pandemic, we've all had to pivot. That's the word we're hearing all the time. And what we have found out is we can still do virtual tours. And more recently, I was on an in-person tour. It was the best day I had that week. So a little bit, you know, Maryland's opening up, and so we're able to do that. We do help through the whole process to placement. You know, I'm really fortunate to be part of the CarePatrol team. I'm really fortunate to be part of the CarePatrol team. We actually are 7 franchises that covers all of Maryland, all of DC, and most of Virginia. We, as a team, have placed over 2,800 clients in over 960 communities. Thanks, Steve.
Great. Well, this is fantastic. So I'm just going to quickly go around just to meet the different CarePatrol team members and find out what locations they're in, and then we'll get right to the program. So I'm going to start with my right and probably your left. Bonnie Elliott in the upper right-hand corner. Bonnie?
Hi, Steve. Thank you. And thank you, Paula. I'm Bonnie Elliott with CarePatrol of Central Maryland, which is Frederick, Washington, and Carroll counties, and Loudoun County, Virginia. And welcome.
Great. And then below Bonnie, we've got Charles. Charles, just unmute yourself. There you go. Charles, tell us where you're from. Okay, I'm gonna skip Charles and hopefully he'll get his mic going, but I'm gonna go to Star in the lower. Yeah, you need to unmute, Star.
Hi, I'm Star Sowers, and I work with Bonnie Danker, who has the franchise for Howard and Montgomery counties.
Okay, great. And Charles, can you hear me? Okay. Okay, so then I'm going to go to Cindy in the...
Thanks, Steve. Thank you, Paula. I'm Cindy Yar Evans. I have Anne Arundel County and part of Baltimore County.
Excellent. Okay, and then I'm going to jump up to our Bonnie. So Bonnie, if you can unmute. Yeah, and we're going to meet Bonnie later in the program, but maybe you could tell everybody where Charles's territory.
I certainly will. Charles and I work together a lot. Charles is in Prince George's County, and he also comes into the district. And I have the Howard and Montgomery County areas and also go into the district. So
Excellent.
we're kind of Washington Metro.
Excellent. All right. Well, great to meet you. Thanks for including me in on this wonderful discussion that you have planned today. I am going to take you guys off the screen. We'll see Bonnie in a little bit, and I'm going to bring Veronica on. And so here we go. And hopefully we can see, okay, Veronica, I got you there. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay,
Morning,
great. Yeah, excellent. And so Veronica, I've got your PowerPoint here, and I'll be running that for you this morning. But first off, tell us a little bit about yourself. What's your profession? And
well, thank you, Steve. My name is Veronica Sniscak, and I am a residential real estate agent, and I'm based in Howard County, Maryland. I do work in a 1-hour radius from Ellicott City, and I also have a team. It's a VSells and Associates, so it's myself and 11 other professionals. So that does expand our service area and also allow us to provide the best services we can to all of our clients.
excellent. All right. Well, let me get your PowerPoint up, and if you just I'm gonna duck behind the curtain, but
Okay.
just sort of whatever works for you, Steve, advance my slide, what have you. And I also want to remind the audience is that at any point in time, if you can ask questions, and so you can type your questions in during the presentation, and then when we take some breaks, you can raise your hand and we'll call on you to ask a question, okay? So let me put myself behind the screen here, and then we can get going here.
Thank you, Steve. Well, I'm so happy to be here and to be able to present on this topic that's very close to my heart and also within what I do career-wise. So just a little bit more about myself. I've been licensed since 1998. So it's been, over 22 years I've been licensed here in Howard County, and thrilled to have a team standing behind me to help serve my clients as best they can. And as I mentioned, I created that team about a year ago now after being on some other teams locally, and just thrilled to be able to be in control of creating the white glove service and just ease of the process, which can be somewhat overwhelming to our clients. So, and most importantly, I mentioned on here, all of these things are to end up netting everyone the most they possibly can help create a environment that will have it be easy, but also make you the most money. Steve, can you advance, please?
Sure.
So one of the things, the biggest question is if you're thinking of downsizing, where to begin, what do I do? And a lot of folks I found in, over the past 20 years that many times they don't know where to begin, so they don't ever begin, and then years pass and then it seems so overwhelming, and possibly folks aren't in good health and don't know, don't feel like they have the resources to be able to help them make the move. So the first thing I suggest, and even if you're several years out, I have talked to people as a realtor 5 years away from making a decision, but just planning so that it doesn't seem so overwhelming. So the reason why I make number one talking with me is because I can give resources to help you with packing, to help you with organizing, to help you with what to keep, what to get rid of. So really, a lot of times people wait to speak to us last because they're not ready to sell, and really speaking with us first and creating that relationship so that we can help you along the way is really what I suggest. Part of our process is the second step once meeting with me is to meet with the property stylist. And what that is we've called them stagers. But in this case, this is just someone who within our fees we provide to come to your home and help you decide what to keep, what to sell, and how to style your home so that when we're ready at any point to take photos and get it on the market, it looks as good as it possibly can. And this is using your things. You know, this isn't staging, which we'll talk about a little bit later. This is basically just preparing your home with your things so that it looks as good as it can. One of the other things that we'll do early on, and I usually do this after you meet with the stylist, is to talk about any updates and repairs that may be beneficial for you to do to your home. Sometimes, you know, it is a complete overhaul, possibly after folks move out, but many times we just make suggestions that are minor updates. I call them little facelifts for the different rooms that are low in cost, but big in impact, and will really help you design your home to sell to the current buyer's market. And then the step 4 would be to begin to sell and donate and maybe even pack some things. And again, this could be a month out or it could be 5 years. It's, you know, we want to put a plan in place so it doesn't feel so overwhelming. And then once you have an idea of timeline, that would be the last thing that we would talk about is, okay, you know, I think I'm going to be ready in a couple months. You know, I always tell my clients, I'm on your timeline. If you tell me you're ready in a month and then that month passes and you're not ready, that's okay. I'm not in a hurry. You know, I've been in this business for a long time and intend to be for many more years to come. So I don't ever want my clients to feel like they're pressured, but we always do like to discuss timelines so that we can best assist and, you know, help you, again, get those packing folks in if you need that and help you come and sell some things if you need that. So we talked a little bit about minor updates, maximum value. So these are just some examples of things that I suggest on, you know, the low cost, big impact. One is just painting. Just painting the house is super helpful and for very low cost can really transform a space. Second, this has become popular in recent years, is painting cabinets. You know, a lot of yellow oak cabinets were very popular in the 90s. And, you know, now with the advent of HDTV, everybody wants like a light white or gray. So often we'll have contractors come in and paint the cabinets so that you don't have to replace them. And it's a much lower cost way to really improve your home. Simply installing hardware or new hardware to something that's a brushed nickel to brighten it up, maybe getting rid of the brushed brass that was very popular. New light fixtures, just modernize the property, you know, in a low cost way. One of the tricks that I have up my sleeve that I really love to suggest to folks is installing new doors. I just sold my mother-in-law's house and she's in her 80s and the house, you know, was in good shape, but it needed something. And I convinced her to replace all of her interior doors with a 6-panel door, which is not a very expensive upgrade. And it really just makes the home feel much newer. And it's something that really does make a difference for a low cost. Flooring is another thing. You can install new flooring. There's a lot of really affordable options. And or you can refinish the existing flooring that you have if it needs it. And it's important to note that I don't suggest doing things that really don't need to be done or that won't, you know, have maximum impact. So can you advance the slide, Steve? So this is a little bit of a case study that I wanted to share with all of you. It's actually happening right now. This home is under contract. This home was owned by a client who rented it for many years, moved out of state. And when I visited the property, as you can see, it had sort of older cabinets, no hardware, and but it had stainless appliances, really good space. And I thought, you know what, if we make some improvements to this house, it'll really increase the value. So what we did in this case is we painted the cabinets, sort of a white ivory. I actually consulted with the contractor on the colors of everything so that I can be as involved or not as, you know, as clients want. Sometimes it gets overwhelming, but I step in and make suggestions, deal with the contractors to really, you know, give good current suggestions to make the biggest impact. So we painted the cabinets here and we did put on new granite countertops and new hardware and new kitchen faucet. So for this room was the most money, and that's really what I tell people is spending money in the kitchen is the most impact, and it just looks completely different. I mean, obviously we have professional photos here in the after, but you can see it just brightens it up and makes it much more on trend for buyers. And my seller, again, out of state, wasn't really involved other than agreeing to the scope of work, and I handled everything else for them. Can you advance to the next one? So just to give you some specifics on that, because what does that really look like? Numbers, let's look at the numbers. So when I looked at the house initially with the condition it was in, I estimated it based on market data to be valued at about $375. It's a garage townhouse in Silver Spring, so definitely a valuable home. However, I felt that with some minor improvements, we could really maximize the value. So we had our contractor come out. So, we painted, not the whole house, painted a lot of the house. We painted the cabinets in the kitchen, as I showed you. We did some painting of cabinets and replacing hardware in some of the bathrooms, but again, minor monetary upgrades. And the total cost of the scope of work was $14,000. But I suggested that if she did this work, the after value would be $400,000, and it would sell faster. That's the other thing, is time is money. And what ended up happening is in the first weekend, we got four strong offers, and it ended up escalating above the sales price, above the list price from $400,000 to $420,000. And, we ended up getting a very clean offer, meaning the terms were very good and the seller was thrilled. So she, by spending $14,000, ended up with $45,000 more than what she would have if she hadn't done the work. So this to me is something that I bring to the table that I'm very passionate about, to help and take that work off of my clients so that at the end of the day, they can actually net more money, which is really what everybody wants. One of the best things about this, I think, is that I offer a program through my team called the VSells VIP program, Value Improvement Program. So basically, I made these suggestions to my client, and at the end of the day, I have contract partners that allow us to do the work and then not have the seller come out of pocket with any money. So the property has to qualify for this program, which we determine ahead of time. But my seller made these $14,000 improvements. She's going to net, like I said, $45,000 more than we initially talked about. And she doesn't have to pay for those improvements until closing. So we give,
oh,
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were finished. I didn't mean to cut you off there. I wanted to share that had a question that I don't know if you might want to address it now because it is kind of relevant. As Joe asks, are bifold mirror doors in the bedroom a plus or a minus or neutral?
I would say that they're a plus because I'm a big fan of a full length mirror. I would say if they're in there already, I wouldn't change them necessarily. The doors that I'm specifically talking about changing are really just the flat panel, either painted white or wood doors, the hollow, just older style doors with a, again, an inexpensive 6-panel door. But for the bedrooms, I think mirror doors are fine as long as they operate. Sometimes the bifold doors get a little wonky, but I'm a big fan of mirrors.
Great. And that's just a good reminder for folks. If you've got questions, just type them in, just like Joe did, and we'll address them.
Absolutely. Thank you, Joe. Yeah. And that's another thing too, again, why I went to step one is calling a realtor, because these are the things that I'm able to consult on and at least give you my opinion, and I wouldn't say I'm right all the time, but at least I know what's going on in the real estate market, what buyers are looking for, and what things you should do versus what things you shouldn't do. So I feel like that's a big part of the value that I bring to the table. So one of the other things we wanted to talk about was staging. So this is specific to vacant properties. So the property stylist that we talked about before is somebody that's going to come into your home and use your things to prep your home for sale. A lot of people do that because they don't move before they sell the property. And this just allows us to show the property really well using their own things. But staging is something that we do use on vacant properties many times, which really does make a difference. It is an extra cost. It is to a third party, company. I have several that I recommend, but it is the statistic here I use that staged homes spend 73% less time on the market than homes that are not staged. And it's simply because it's an emotional purchase, and being able to see how furniture looks in a home. And also it's on trend, it looks magazine quality. It really helps the pictures tremendously. So this is something sometimes people don't want to spend money on, but this is just to illustrate how important it really is. And it's accessories. You know, I mentioned in here, I just really like accessories, and this is a way to accessorize your home. So this is a before and after photo, and this is a foyer. So in the picture on the right side, you can see there's a rug, there's a table. It's, you know, and this isn't the most impactful room to be staged, but I thought it really made a difference, so I wanted to share it. So you can see it gives you it's just feeling warmer, depth. You know, the picture color quality is definitely a little different as well, and we use only high quality HD photos. You know, our photographers are very, very professional, and as you can see the difference here. Can you advance the next slide, Steve? And this is the dining room. So again, the color saturation in the photo was a little bit different, but the one on the left, yes, you can tell it's a dining room because there's a chandelier, but you know, you can't tell how am I going to fit things? What are things going to look like? So this makes the photo look that much better. It just feels great. It looks magazine quality, and that's the same house. I mean, morning and afternoon after it was staged. So it really does just elicit a different feeling for buyers, which again makes them want to spend more money. So this is what we want to do.
Yeah, and I guess now more than ever in these in COVID, folks are shopping online, and they're not going to go visit a house unless it's really striking their fancy.
100%. And it just, you know, there's nothing that's going to stop the feeling that people get when they walk into a home. But you're absolutely right. Our whole COVID situation has changed things dramatically. And now more than ever, staging is important. We do some 3D photography that allows folks to toggle around in rooms to kind of get a bigger feel for it. I mean, this is a master bedroom. And looking at the left, I mean, and I'm a professional, I wouldn't know that that was a master bedroom. But here on the right, you can see how it's, you know, how it's decorated and how wonderfully inviting it looks and makes a difference. So pricing strategy is always a big deal when we're talking listings, and it's very important to mention. I mean, right now it is the craziest sellers market that we've seen since, you know, in 2005, and that was an artificial situation. Now we're just really dealing with a lack of inventory. So if you're thinking of selling, you know, now and probably for the next year or two at least, it's going to be a really great time. But pricing is very important. You know, many think we price high and leave a little bit of room for negotiations, and I hear that a lot, but that is absolutely really the opposite of what we're seeing work well in the real estate market. So what we're seeing is pricing accurately. I'm not saying grossly underpriced, but price accurately for the value of what you're offering, and make folks run to it and say, wow, I can get all of that for this price. It ends up causing a multiple offer situation in a lot of cases, and we're seeing a lot of price escalations. I mentioned with what we did previously, but I'll give you an example, and this will tie together with our webinar today. My mother-in-law, I mentioned her earlier. She was involved with CarePatrol, very, very pleased with their services and knowledge about the communities around the area, and they really helped her identify what might work for her. But we sold her house a few months ago, and I am very familiar with the house, obviously, and we priced it at $600,000. I like the $100,000 mark. And to make a long story short, we ended up with 17 offers, and I successfully sold the home for $95,000 over the listed price. And I don't think I grossly underpriced it, but in 25 years, I'd never seen anything quite like this. Now, we staged it. She replaced all her doors. I actually ended up paying for the staging because she didn't, you know, was just not interested in spending the extra money, but that in and of itself really pushed the house over the edge and made her sale so much more successful. And after the fact, she said, you know, she was very thankful for my professionalism and the things that I was offering. So understand that sometimes you do have to spend a little money to make money, and you always want to price accurately. But most important, you want to make sure that all the partners that you choose in your real estate agent and, you know, a company like CarePatrol are on your side and professionals that have your best interest at heart. So this is all my contact information, and I welcome any questions now or, you know, after the fact, and I would love to hear your thoughts on some of the things I shared today.
Great. Okay. Well, I'm going to bring Bonnie Danker up while we do that. And yeah, folks, if you've got questions at this point, feel free to raise your hand. However, you know, we can entertain questions at the end as well, or throughout the presentation. But really good tips there, Veronica. And it's bizarre how hot the housing market is during this pandemic. But it's definitely something that we've seen with our readers in terms of their motivation to move and downsize is, even though it can be a little bit scary, it's really being prompted by a lot of folks that want to tap into the maximum value of their home here. So, all right, well, Veronica, thanks so much. I'm going to put you behind the curtains, and we'll hear from Bonnie, and then I'm sure we'll bring you on later. I also just wanted to make a note that there's a few CarePatrol folks that we didn't get to meet at the beginning of the program, and we'll make sure that we introduce them at the end. All right, with that, Bonnie, real excited to hear what you have to say today. So take it away.
Thank you, Steve. As my colleagues and I are very excited to be here, and we appreciate Veronica being one of our guest speakers today and also a sponsor for this webinar workshop series. We're thrilled to be able to kick it off. We have found over the last months that many of the families that we're working with have been at a real disadvantage, as many of the senior centers and the support groups and being able to get out and walk through communities has been stunted. And so we wanted to offer education and information because we know how important it is and how much we all seek that in order to have a level of comfort and understanding in moving forward. So where are you going and how do you get there? Well, right now we know if you're selling a house, you have a better understanding of how to go about that and really the important pieces of getting that started early. So we're going to focus more on where are you going? And every day, 10,000 baby boomers turn 65. 10,000 baby boomers turn 65. That's absolutely incredible. Wouldn't you agree? And we're going to look at the objectives of understanding these senior living options because they are vast. And with 10,000 baby boomers coming into this market and having at some time in their future looking for senior living and senior housing, we want to make sure that we give you a broad brush understanding of how that works. We'll also touch upon how memory care differs from other senior care options because it is different. And then the Department of Healthcare Quality is the agency that regulates assisted livings in the state of Maryland. So we're going to touch upon that organization and how what those regulations look like. And then the cost associated with assisted living and other independent living options. We'll give you a couple tips on touring senior communities and homes. And then we'll wrap it up with some information on some private veterans and other government and local county programs. So let's get to it. You say, why the need for senior care? Well, I think every day, 10,000 baby boomers turning 65. Baby boomers have changed the US population for more than 70 years. And over the next 30, will continue to do so at a rate that's just incredible. A demographic shift is what we're seeing now, and also known as the gray tsunami. So I haven't been part of a tsunami before, but I'm part of this gray tsunami. The population of age 65 and older will continue to surge by 65% by the year 2030. This increase in life expectancy is greatly expanding, and this creates this demand. Baby boomers hold more than 70% of the financial assets and 50% of disposable spending. Just incredible numbers. The US is projected to age significantly during this period, with 20% of the population age 65 plus by 2030. That's up by 60% from just turn of the century. These changes in age structure really will drive implications for healthcare services, policymakers who are having to make those decisions on what programs and how to fund those programs, businesses seeking to anticipate the influence that this population shift may have on their services, such as CarePatrol and Veronica VSells, as well as family structure and the American landscape. We'll touch upon the different types of senior housing. On the next slides, we'll go into a little bit more detail on each of these areas. But the different types are aging in place, staying in your home, making that home safe and as maintenance-free as possible as we age. The other options would be moving out of the home, assisted living, continuing care retirement communities, nursing homes, and independent living. Independent living. We're going to look at two different styles or types of independent living. The first one that we'll focus on is life plan communities. Previously, these communities were known as continuing care retirement communities, and there's 38 throughout the state of Maryland. And I'm sure Robin, who's on our call, who covers the Northern Virginia area, can chat a little bit more about what's going on in the Virginia and the DC metro. But there's 38 of these communities in Maryland, and more are being built because there is a demand for this type of living option. These communities offer a combination of living options for older adults. They're offering an active lifestyle for residents, as well as a wide array of amenities and services. These communities include independent living, assisted living, and skilled nursing all on the same campus. And residents have the option to have all of their future care health needs met without ever having to leave the campus. As you can see from the pictures on the screen, the community on the left really gives you an idea of the size of what these communities can look like. To give you an example of a local community and the differences, Charlestown in the Baltimore metropolitan area is a life plan community. They have over 1,500 different apartments and units on that campus, scoping between independent living, assisted living, and skilled nursing. Another community that's a continuing care or a life plan community in the Howard, DC metro area is Vantage House. And they have 222 between their independent, assisted, and skilled. So you can see just within the life plan communities, there's a tremendous amount of difference between size, environment, and the feel of the community. So it's really helpful to many times work with a professional like ourselves who can help you really understand what your goals are and what your needs are and which communities really line up best with that. With life plan communities, the financial consideration, you usually have a buy-in or an entrance fee. And this is usually a sizable amount of money, starting at about $285,000. Many individuals use that nest egg of their primary residence, selling that primary residence, and using that nest egg to kind of get them in the door. With these kinds of life plan communities, they will have different types of entry contracts, but many times that entrance fee would be refundable back to your estate should you want to leave or should you pass away, and that money would go back to your estate. But they also will have other types of contracts where it may be you have that entrance fee, but it may be that it's prorated over the course of 5 or 10 years as you lose part of that balance because those monies are kind of utilized within the community. In addition to your entrance fee, which is really kind of held, you also will have monthly fees. And give you an example of someone I just worked with. They moved in, they were a single person, they moved into a life plan community, and their monthly fee is about $3,500 a month. And that fee gives them a lot of services and amenities, such as 40 meals a week within the dining rooms or the eating centers on the campus, maintenance of their apartment, transportation within a certain radius, and lots of activities and amenities within that campus. A couple might be living in that same apartment, might be looking at about $8,000 a month combined for that monthly fee. The pros or the advantages of these types of communities is that you can plan ahead for your future care needs. No worries if you run out of money. We talked about, the life expectancy really expanding and people wanting to be able to make those choices for themselves while they still have their health and can do that. Also, you're guaranteed this lifelong care and shelter. With many life plan communities, they're really going to be looking for you to qualify both medically as well as financially. And so it's usually they're looking for you to come in living at that independent level where you don't need a lot of support and services. So many times it's best to look earlier as opposed to later, because you may or may not be appropriate for that option any longer if you're already at an assisted living level of care. The disadvantages are people have shared that they're putting all their eggs in one basket. And it may be hard to get your money back if consumer interest changes. We're not seeing that right now, but it's just a consideration. Or other levels of care may not be available. With many of these communities, when they built 20, 30 years ago, they really were heavy into the independent. So it might be that 80% of their units were really independent. And when somebody needed that assisted living, they might have to wait in order to get on a wait list. And therefore having to put out-of-pocket money in order to bring private duty care in to help support them in their independent. But we're seeing that more and more of these life plan communities are doing a better job of really building out their assisted living and their nursing centers so that they can help out. And then one of the other considerations you want to look at is the levels of care throughout the community. Take a look at all of that when you visit a community, because you want to make sure that the assisted living and the nursing home or the memory care center is up to the same standards that you're seeing in that independent as well. The other type of independent living that we're going to look at a little more deeply here would really be more in the area of your rental communities. 62 plus is your age, independent housing. There's over 270 of this type of option throughout Maryland. Usually these types of communities are also apartment style communities for active older adults who want to enjoy that lifestyle of free of worries of home maintenance. They're similar to other condo apartment communities, etc., except that they do provide some additional special services that make it unique. Many times they're going to be handicap accessible, and they're also going to have a security, 24-hour security, giving that feeling of knowing that once you're in your community, that you're going to be safe there. Many also provide a full range of activities and clubs for the residents. Usually this type of community will have anywhere between maybe 150 or so apartments on the campus or on site. Many will also have a community center or some common areas that the residents that live there can enjoy. Financially, usually it's a rental lease tenant agreement. Usually it's about a 1-year lease. So it makes it very affordable for many adults. You have a much easier out contract. And financially, not financially, but medically, with many of these independent 62 plus, if you needed to leave before your lease was up, usually with a doctor's notification, you can get that contract or that lease maybe down to a 60-day out. They're handicap accessible, and you don't have to worry about any home maintenance. One of the cons is that they don't offer healthcare services. And so if I really start to need some more support or some more help, I'm going to have to bring that in from outside, from a home care or other type of agency. So this provides a very nice option for many people as well. Maryland assisted livings. So assisted livings are regulated and are very different on a state-by-state basis. In Maryland, there's over 1,098 different assisted living communities or homes. In Maryland, an assisted living is defined by the COMAR regulations, which is the regulatory body, as a residential or, pardon me, a facility-based provider that provides housing and support services, supervision, personalized assistance in a way that promotes the optimum dignity and independence for its residents. As you can see from the slides, they vary greatly. We talked about 1,098 different options or different communities out there. As you can imagine, it's very important to really be able to see and understand how these communities differ, but also how they're the same. They range from standalone residences. The second picture you're looking at on the screen is a residential assisted living. These vary greatly from a townhouse to a mega mansion in the Baltimore, Washington metropolitan areas. And these are a very affordable and attractive option for many families that we work with. In addition, you have your commercial communities. You're looking at the community on the left, which is a commercial community. Commercial communities, the difference is really the building itself. It's a commercial building that was built for the purpose of being apartment style living with 24-hour support and care services on site. The pricing for assisted living is usually broken down into a monthly fee with two parts. One being the cost for your room or your apartment, the accommodations that you select, so to speak. And the second part being the cost for your care, the fees for your care. These types of communities allow people to be as independent as possible while providing that support with what the term is ADLs, activities of daily living, such as walking, eating, dressing, bathing, toileting, transferring, and medication administration, and also queuing and reminders, things along that. So within the state of Maryland, there's different license levels for that care piece, those activities of daily living. But many assisted livings, both the residential model and the commercial model, can manage someone's care through end of life. As we chatted about, they vary greatly in size, care levels, community feel, and cost. A residential community in this area would be defined as a community that's licensed for anywhere between 1 and 16 residents. It's a residential home, much like you may have in your neighborhood, and they're licensed through the Department of Healthcare Quality, and many times they've made significant improvements to make it more handicap accessible and to make it a easier shared space home. A larger assisted living community would be 17 plus. So you have a wide variety within that scope. The community that we're looking at on the screen here has about 180 different apartments. And another community, such as maybe a Victory housing community, may be considered commercial, but that may be only 35 units in that. So again, it's a wide variety. The advantages is all assisted living communities offer 3 meals a day, supervision, and security, assistance with activities of daily living. And many communities, both the residential and the commercial, may meet the requirements or the criteria that's laid out in your long-term care insurance. For those that have a long-term care insurance policy, it's really helpful to pull that out or contact that long-term care insurance company to understand what criteria would the community or the home have to be able to provide you with to meet those guidelines. Some of the negatives are that assisted living is predominantly private pay. Most Medicare insurance, other types of insurance, does not pay for care and assisted living, with the exception of long-term care insurance. And there's not really set standards for the specific assisted living accommodations. Assisted living regulations and costs. Assisted livings are regulated at the state level. The states set regulations to clearly distinguish an assisted living from other long-term care facilities. And as we chatted about previously, what we know is that in many states, residential assisted living doesn't even exist. And also in many states, what might be considered in Maryland, nursing home level of care, we may be able to have some of that care managed in assisted living, whereas in another state, that care may only be managed in a skilled nursing facility. So it's important to understand that it does differ state to state. Each state has different rules and how to go about it. The average cost nationally for a one-bedroom apartment, and this is really looking at a commercial community, is about $4,200 a month. But as we chatted about, costs vary greatly. Typically, it's paid with private funds. Long-term care insurance can help cover all or some of the cost. And for some veterans or their spouses, there is some VA benefits that might be available. Some assisted livings do accept a program called a Medicaid waiver. And in some areas, there are programs and county subsidies. The average cost nationally, we mentioned, is about $4,200. I wanted to give you some more local or regional information. Commercial assisted living in this area, in this region, the Baltimore, Washington, is going to run in the neighborhood of about $6,000 a month for a commercial community and about $3,500 a month for a residential. And that would be for usually a semi-private room in a residential. Within that scope of assisted living, there's also memory care. And memory care is specialized care in an assisted living for individuals who have dementia. There are some communities that may be in assisted living and they may have, we'll say, 100 apartments or 100 residents. They're licensed for 100. And they may have 80 of those residents who are cared for or who live in their general assisted living. And then within that assisted living, they have a memory care neighborhood of about maybe 20 residents who are in a secured neighborhood. Many times people will ask, well, how do I know? Should I be in the memory care? Should I be in the more general assisted living? Usually that's determined by a healthcare assessment because there are many people who have cognitive impairment that live in a general assisted living. But those that might be best suited for a memory care neighborhood may be someone who really needs a higher level of support and care, or who really needs to be in a secured environment for fear that if they were to go outside, they may not be able to find their way back to the community. So that would be something that we would discuss in more depth. As you can see, they really aim to achieve a home-like environment. The pictures on the screen are a community locally that has a bedroom, and then the common area of the dining room is in the main hub of the building. And then they have indoor and outdoor areas where a resident can safely go in and out and move about freely, but everything is in a secured environment. So these communities offer 24-hour secured or alarmed or locked areas. And they also have communities that are memory care specific. So we talked about memory care neighborhoods within a larger assisted living, but then you have a subset of communities that are memory care specific. And usually these communities will have anywhere between about 50 to maybe 65 residents. So it's a smaller overall community. They're laid out in a way to make it more easily adaptable with a lot of light, small hallways to make it easier for someone to navigate throughout the community. And the decor of these communities can vary greatly. In addition to standalone communities, in Maryland, we also have many residential assisted livings that provide that home-like setting, and many folks with dementia or cognitive impairment choose those as their home. They provide that home-like environment. In memory care specific communities, you're usually looking at about, we said 50 to 65, and in a residential home, you're usually looking at an average of about 6 to 8 residents living there. The benefit of a memory care is that there's usually a higher staffing ratio. What that means is there's more caregivers per resident. So residents are able to get more immediate support with cueing and reminding and help. The cons is that memory care specific neighborhoods and communities are usually a higher cost than the more general assisted living because they do have that higher care level. So the big question is, well, how do I pay for this care? Paying for assisted living. We have a chart here, and it's can be very helpful, not all inclusive, but very helpful, because what it shows is that there are some different ways to pay for care. The way that we know is predominantly it's private pay, but as you can see, there's a program locally, county by county, it can be offered and it can be different, but a group home subsidy program. And the objective of this program was to prevent costly nursing home placement by providing financial assistance to needy individuals. It's not available in every county, and there may be a waiting list, but in the Howard, Montgomery, Baltimore, Prince George's, many of those counties do have this program currently funded, and it can be a lifesaver for many families. In DC and Northern Virginia, you would want to contact your local Department of Aging for more specific information on this program.
Hey, Bonnie,
Yes.
there was a few requests for your slide deck, and especially with this one where the type is a little bit small.
Yes.
We can send this out to the attendees after the event, correct?
That'd be great. Certainly, we can add it, send it out to them. Yes.
Okay, great. So that hopefully that answers Jean and Joe's question there. Alrighty.
Thank you. You can also, long-term care insurance, we touched upon that. Understanding the policy. Some folks work with SHIP in finding out whether or not it may be helpful for them to look at using a reverse mortgage. And then the veterans benefits, which we'll talk more about on the resource slide. But veterans and or their surviving spouses, we've helped hundreds and hundreds of veterans and or spouses connect into this program. And it can pay up to about $1,500 a month for the spouse of a veteran, or up to about $2,000 a month to help support the care of a veteran. So these programs, as I said, are very impactful. Here we have some additional resources. Within each area and within each state, there are area agencies on aging. And in Maryland, we're very fortunate that we have this wonderful map access point. It's a link to health and support services in your community, usually broken down by county. In the Virginia area, it's DARS, the Virginia Department for Aging. So we've included their contact information as well. And then Steve Gurney, our wonderful moderator and support today, was a pioneer for the Positive Aging Source Book. It's a wonderful guide that's available both in print as well as digital. And it's a comprehensive guide to assisted living and all other senior-related services, housing, care, support, programming throughout the Baltimore, Washington, and Virginia area. And then we've also put up a link for a colleague who has a service that helps veterans and or their spouses see if they might qualify for that Veterans Aid and Attendance benefit. So that's all I have for you. I want to say thank you for coming. Myself and my colleagues who will be coming out from behind the curtain in just a moment are excited to be of service to you and your families. And we want to continue to be a wonderful resource to bring you education and to support you in exploring and understanding what your care and your housing options are, and to let you know that we are a free service that does not charge our clients for the information. We have hundreds of providers that we work with that pay our fee. So that wraps it up for me. I welcome your questions, and I have my colleagues here who are the local experts, and that's a real advantage that we have. So bring the questions on. Steve, do we have any questions that have come up?
Hi, Barney. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I think I had spoke to you maybe earlier, maybe about 2 months ago, in reference to assisted living for my brother. I did find one in PG. He is there, but I don't know if that's where he should be. And I was going to reach out to you this week to see if we could talk about his situation and maybe there's alternative living for him other than that particular one. Is that
Certainly,
possible?
Jane. Why don't we reach out to you later on this afternoon and find a good time to talk and to understand what you might be looking for so that we can help you.
Okay. Where should I just type you my phone number or
I got it. I will not forget.
what number? You have it already?
Well, I have it in our system. Yes.
Oh, okay. Is it the 367 number?
I'm not looking at it right now, but
Oh,
I know
okay.
that because we did an intake assessment, we will have that information.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's fine. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jean. Thanks for being on the call. Any other questions from our attendees?
Oh yeah, sorry, I was on mute. I was sitting here talking to myself. I apologize. Thanks, Jean, for coming on. Let's see, Meryl Schaefer makes a comment. Thank you for this complete breakdown. I've never seen this clear level understanding. Tim Titus asks, are memory care costs growing as fast as other healthcare costs?
That's a great question. Any of my colleagues want to tackle that one?
I can. I would just say that typically costs go up 2 to 3% per year in all communities, just as sort of a standard, goes along with the cost of living.
Yeah, there's a lot of similarity between the rising cost of colleges and the rising cost of senior living, and college students and older adults have a lot in common in COVID-19 as well. A lot of technology is now being utilized in some of the places that you have been talking about, Bonnie.
Yeah, we're learning to utilize a lot of those resources, such as Facebook and platforms and things like that, to continue to keep us connected.
Ernestine Thomas says, could we receive the contact information of the care patrols in the different counties? I think what since everybody who signed up for this, you guys have the email addresses, maybe one of the good ideas is to email everybody with the PowerPoint, with the recording, and then with contact info from all the different locations. And with that, I want to make sure that we recognize Rhonda Thomas here. Rhonda, sorry we had you in the wrong, you were in the audience during the introductions. So do you want to tell everybody what regions you serve?
Yes, I am. I work with Bonnie Danker of the Danker team, and we serve Montgomery County and Howard County. And I am a senior living consultant.
Okay, great. Wow, well, this was a jam-packed hour. It's always amazing how fast things go. I'll sort of give the audience sort of last call for any questions, but because you guys will be following up with everybody, it's a great opportunity to have a one-on-one dialogue with the Care Patrol team member or Veronica in your region.
Steve, do you want to make sure that the couple other franchises get on?
Oh, sure. Could you tell me, I tell you what, any other franchises that are here, could you just raise your hand and I'll bring you on for an introduction? That would be better. Okay, so, okay, we got Robin Edwards coming over and Amy Fager
Yeah.
coming over. Okay.
There we are.
And Amy O'Donnell? Or is that, okay.
No,
So,
that's it.
okay, so Amy Fager. Okay, there we go. All right. So yeah, Robin, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Has to unmute.
Hi, I'm Amy Fager, and I'm a certified senior advisor as well. And my territory is Delmarva. For those of you who don't know what that is, that's most of Delaware. We go all the way up to the southern part of Newcastle County. So we have Sussex and Kent counties. And then we also have the Maryland Eastern Shore. And it's my husband, Gary, and I. We work all in that territory to get together.
Great. And that's not a bad place to be living out there on the beach in the Delmarva Peninsula.
We love it.
Great. Okay. And then Robin.
Yes. Hi, I'm Robin Edwards, a senior care consultant with CarePatrol in Northern Virginia. I serve Fairfax, Arlington, and Alexandria. And that's it.
Great. Well, excellent. We've got some really good feedback from the presentation today in the questions. And Joe says this was an exceptionally good presentation. I thank the CarePatrol team and everybody in the audience for your time today. And we will be following up with everybody soon. And we'll look forward. You'll also get information on the October, November, December CarePatrol educational panels. All right. Thanks, team.
Thanks.
gonna.
Thank you, Steve. Sounds great.
Okay.
All
Talk to
right,
you next month.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Thank you.